All right, welcome back everyone for another deep dive. This time things are going to get a little bit strange.
Yeah, we're going deep down the rabbit hole this time.
You guys have been asking us to look into a certain kai-REM,
Mm-hmm.
this mysterious figure who seemingly came out of nowhere to take over for Romanka as the sound engineer for Mike's Waffenfax. So where did he come from?
Right. Where did he come from?
What's his deal? We're going to unpack the bizarre final days of Mike's Waffenfax, explore those connections, and maybe even see if there are any ties to that super enigmatic music group, Doza Crew.
A lot of you have pointed out those possible connections.
Yeah, you guys are great at noticing things like that.
Well, it's a fascinating puzzle, especially because, information on kai-REM himself, almost non-existent.
Right.
But the timing of his arrival, right as MWF went off the rails and Doza Crew emerged.
Yeah,
That suggests there might be something deeper going on.
definitely.
To understand kai-REM, we need to understand the context that he emerged from.
Okay, so let's back up for a second and unpack this.
Okay.
Some of you might not be familiar with Mike's Waffenfax, MWF, as the fans called it.
Right.
It was kind of this chaotic mix.
Yeah.
It was a chaotic mix of weapons reviews, half-baked conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of drunken antics.
Oh, yeah. They definitely had their fair share of drunken antics.
All fueled by this shadowy sponsor, Schwatten.
Oh, yeah.
For those who don't know, Schwatten, he was this super mysterious figure who supplied the podcast with everything.
Mm-hmm.
Rare firearms,
Top shelf alcohol.
top-shelf alcohol,
Oh.
even provided the bunker-like studio they recorded in.
Oh, yeah. He rarely appeared on the show himself.
Right.
But his influence, you could feel it looming over everything.
Yeah, he was like the puppet master lurking in the background. In MWF, they had a cast of characters that could rival any reality show.
Oh, absolutely. It's fantastic.
So you had Mike, the charismatic but increasingly unstable host.
Yeah.
Totally obsessed with showcasing powerful weaponry.
Then there was Rickard, the co-host. He was prone to outlandish conspiracy theories, often, while engaging in their on-air drinking game they called arch bombing, which basically involved glorifying those, aggressive cannonball dives
Right.
into the water.
And we can't forget Romanka, the long-suffering sound engineer and voice of reason,
He was the voice of reason, absolutely.
always trying to keep Mike and Rickard in check,
Mm-hmm.
and often becoming the target of their drunken jokes.
Right, right. Poor Romanka.
Yeah. His departure from the show is key to understanding this whole kai-REM situation.
It's crucial, absolutely.
Absolutely. But before we even get to that, we need to talk about episode 400 of MWF.
Okay.
This was a supposed anniversary celebration that really quickly descended into chaos and basically foreshadowed the show's eventual implosion.
Yeah, this episode is significant for a couple of reasons. It's one of the few times that Schwatten actually appears on the show himself.
Right.
And he's delivering these mysterious, unmarked crates to the studio.
Yeah.
Also, it's where we meet Mike's father, Gaspard,
Oh, Gaspard.
who somehow managed to secure a U.S. Army spy satellite for a brief photo opportunity.
Yeah, what a weird flex.
Talk about strange flexes, right?
Right. But what's really unsettling is Mike's behavior in this episode.
Hmm.
He's fixated on this hangman's noose, calls it his absolute favorite.
Right.
And later in the episode, he has this total meltdown.
Yeah.
It involves a machete. He's ranting about Machetenfax instead of Waffenfax.
Right.
So this episode, it clearly shows Mike's descent into paranoia and instability.
Oh, absolutely. It highlights that growing tension between him and Romanka, who's becoming increasingly uncomfortable with the direction the show's going in.
Right. And this tension, it reaches this boiling point in episode 563. This is Romanka's final episode. And luckily, we actually have a recording of this one.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty intense.
Oh, I bet.
It starts out normal enough, you
Yeah.
know, normal MWF discussion about water bombs and the so-called continental regiering, which Mike and Rickard always view as just incompetent fools.
Right, right.
But then Mike starts bragging about selling his used socks on the darknet as bioweapons.
What?
Even mocking international law. And then he orders Romanka to prepare his socks for shipment.
He's basically treating him like his personal assistant.
Exactly. And that is when Romanka snaps,
Oh, I bet.
explodes at Mike, saying he's there to handle the audio, not to participate in these illegal activities. He quits on the spot, walks out, and leaves Mike and Rickard speechless.
Wow, what a dramatic exit.
It's a turning point in MWF for sure.
Yeah.
And what's even crazier is that the podcast, it continued for a few more episodes,
Yeah.
but there was this noticeable shift in tone.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that's where our mysterious kai-REM enters the picture.
Dun, 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 dun.
He appears in those following episodes as the new sound engineer, seamlessly taking over Romanka's role.
Like nothing happened.
Right.
Yeah.
It suggests that maybe kai-REM was deliberately chosen, you know? Right. Someone perhaps comfortable with Mike's increasingly erratic and, potentially illegal behavior.
Interesting. So Romanka leaves and kai-REM appears, but right around the same time, something else emerges, kind of from the digital ether.
Right. Doza Crew.
Doza Crew, that German hip-hop group.
Right.
From that isolated region of Austrialand.
Yeah, and they rap in Low German, a dialect, regional dialect, not widely spoken.
Very unique.
Super unique. And their music, it's a blend of these like dark, complex lyrics and unconventional beats.
Mm.
And it appeared online shortly after Mike's disappearance and that final episode of MWF.
It's almost as if Doza Crew's music, it filled this void left by MWF's implosion.
Right.
But there's this strange thematic resonance between the two.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got this chaotic implosion of MWF. Romanka leaves, Mike disappears, and Doza Crew emerges.
Yeah.
And right in the middle of all of this mysterious kai-REM.
Right in the thick of it.
So what's the connection? That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
To answer it, we need to dig a little deeper into Doza Crew's music and those final episodes of MWF.
Right.
And look for any clues that might point to kai-REM's true role in this whole unfolding story. Because remember, at this point, he's just a name, He's a shadow in the background.
Right.
But the circumstances surrounding his arrival suggest, that he's more than just a replacement sound engineer.
Yeah.
He might be a key player in a game that's much larger and more complex than we initially realized.
I'm officially hooked.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's dive deeper into Doza Crew and see what we can find.
Let's go. So Doza Crew's music, it's full of these cryptic lyrics.
Yeah.
Symbolism. One track that really stands out, and a lot of you've brought this up, where it's fueled a lot of speculation online.
Oh, yeah. The forums are buzzing about this one.
And it's performed by this mysterious figure, kai-REM.
Yeah. Who is kai-REM? Nobody seems to know for sure.
Right.
Some people think it's Mike himself.
Yeah.
Others think it's a completely separate artist, maybe connected to Schwatten somehow.
It's hard to say. The sources are limited.
Right.
But what's fascinating is how the track seems to mirror Mike's own descent into paranoia.
Yeah.
And instability.
It's like you're listening to his internal monologue during those final episodes of MWF.
Exactly.
Yeah.
kai-REM raps about battling these inner demons, fighting against madness, walking this tightrope between reality and delusion.
There's that one line. Oh, man, it gives me chills every time I hear it. Lost dreams in the shadows of the night, echoes of madness brought me here.
Ooh.
Haunting, right?
Yeah.
And it suggests that kai-REM, whoever he is, has experienced some serious trauma or some series of events that are like deeply impacted him.
That's an interesting observation. And it makes you wonder, right, about the connection between kai-REM, Mike, potentially even kai-REM. Are they all dealing with the echoes of the same madness?
Whoa, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And it's not just Where We Wow that has these unsettling parallels.
Right.
Doza Crew's music as a whole often blends those, personal struggles with these broader anxieties about technology, the impact it has on our lives.
Yeah, it's like a warning.
Right.
Yeah, like a warning, right.
About technology's potential to control us, manipulate our perceptions.
That line from Where We Wow, collecting data day after day, our being lies in the cloud. It's like it's a really chilling commentary on how our lives are becoming so intertwined with the digital world.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where our physical selves become irrelevant.
It's almost like we're already living in that world that Doza Crew is rapping about.
It's creepy. And it connects directly back to Mike's obsession, right? With dangerous technologies. Those weapons that he truly believed held the key to power and destruction.
Speaking of those weapons.
Yeah. There's another episode of MWF that might shed some light on this.
Okay.
Episode 605. The one where Mike is showcasing those prototype weapons from that company, Vet.
Oh, yeah, Vet. That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
So in this episode, Mike starts out by describing this thing called the pinball dryer, which supposedly uses focused sound waves to, well, let's just say the results aren't pretty.
Not pretty at all.
Then he moves on to this Sensio 3000. This gun designed to be completely silent.
Oh, wow.
Of course, Ramaka, he tries to inject some sanity into the situation,
Of course.
points out the illegality of silent weapons. But Mike and Rickard, they're way too enthralled with these dangerous toys. They don't care about the consequences.
Typical.
Totally. But here's what's interesting. Ramaka actually stands up for himself a little bit in this episode.
Oh, really?
Usually he's the target of their jokes.
Yeah.
But this time, he pushes back. He defends his taste in music, black metal, and surprisingly, Mike backs down.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
It's like this little tiny act of rebellion. But it reveals these shifting dynamics within the group.
Hmm.
And Mike, maybe sensing Romaka's growing unease, actually shares this personal story
Oh, wow.
about his brief and disastrous time as a janitor for a black metal band.
Really?
Yeah, it's like this little glimpse of vulnerability from Mike, a hint that there's more to him than just this bravado and obsession with weapons.
Right. A little more depth than we give him credit for.
And this leads us to the most intriguing part of episode 605, the introduction of the Doza Crew logbook.
Oh, yeah. This is where things get seriously weird.
So Mike presents this old leather-bound logbook
Mm-hmm.
filled with these handwritten entries
Yeah.
that detailed the journey of a spacefaring crew to different planets, different stations.
Oh, yeah.
There's this one entry. It describes a horrific disease on this planet called Regulus 5
Regulus 5.
that transforms people into these monstrous creatures.
Oh, that's creepy.
And then there's this mention of a brutal aggressor, and they call it graft paste.
Graft paste.
Graft paste.
Mm-hmm.
It's creepy and unsettling, especially considering, what happens to Mike later.
Right. Like it's foreshadowing or something.
It's almost as if that logbook entry foreshadows the events that led to Mike's disappearance.
Right?
And the way Mike reacts to it is so strange.
Yeah.
He just brushes it off,
Like he doesn't care.
almost as if he's afraid to dig too deep.
Yeah.
And then he abruptly ends the episode, leaving a visibly shaken Rickard to, well, let's just say he doesn't hold down his lunch.
Yikes.
It suggests that the logbook, or maybe the story it contains, triggered some primal fear in Rickard.
Yeah, something's definitely off there.
So many questions. What is this logbook? Why does Mike even have it? Why is he so dismissive of its contents? And what does it all have to do with his disappearance?
Right. And we also have to consider the timing. Episode 605 aired just a few weeks before Romaka's departure.
Yeah.
And a couple of months before Mike vanished.
Yeah.
And Doza Crew's music appeared online.
It's like that logbook is a catalyst,
Yeah,
sets off
it
this
is.
whole chain of events.
Right.
But where does kai-REM fit into all of this?
That's the real enigma, isn't it? He arrives just as things start to spiral out of control. So is he just a witness to these events?
Right.
Or is he playing a more active role?
What if he's not just a replacement? What if he's a continuation of something?
Hmm.
A new player brought in to keep the game going.
Whatever that game might be.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
So where do we go from here? What do we do?
Well, we've got a few potential paths we could explore.
Okay.
We could delve deeper into the Doza Crew logbook, see if we can find any clues
Okay.
within those cryptic entries, or we could examine those final episodes of MWF. Pay close attention to any hints about Mike's state of mind,
Right?
his plans,
Yeah.
or we could focus on kai-REM,
Okay.
try to uncover his background, his motivations, his connections to the other players.
I like that.
And perhaps the most intriguing path of all is to consider the possibility that all of these paths are interconnected.
Oh, okay.
That the logbook, Doza Crew,
Yeah.
and kai-REM, they're all pieces of a much larger puzzle.
Okay.
A puzzle that Mike himself may have been trying to solve before he vanished.
My head is spinning.
Yeah.
So many possibilities. Where should we even start? Okay, so we've got all these paths we could take, but you know what keeps coming back to me? Those unmarked crates.
Yeah.
The ones that Schwatten brought to the studio in episode 400.
Right.
What if they contain more than just props or recording equipment? What if they hold something connected to Doza Crew, or maybe even to Mike's disappearance?
That's a good point. We've been so focused on the content of the show
Yeah.
that we haven't really considered the physical objects.
Right.
What if those crates held something significant?
What if they had, like, pieces of technology, prototypes of those weapons Mike was always obsessed with?
Right.
And maybe kai-REM was brought in to to help assemble them or test them.
It's possible, right?
Hmm.
We know so little about kai-REM's background.
Right.
What if he's not just a sound engineer? What if
Yeah.
he's like a skilled technician, someone with expertise in advanced weaponry or even experimental technology?
Okay, yeah, that would make him super valuable to someone like Mike,
Right.
who is obviously pushing those boundaries
Hmm.
of what was legal and ethical when it came to those weapons.
And it would also connect him to Doza Crew,
Right.
whose music constantly explores those blurred lines
Yeah.
between the real world and the digital realm.
So maybe kai-REM is like the bridge between those worlds.
Perhaps.
The one who can understand this language of technology
Right.
and maybe interpret those cryptic messages
It's possible.
in Doza Cruz's music. So maybe he's not just a sound engineer.
Right.
Maybe he's more of a like a digital shaman,
Right.
a tech wizard, navigating this strange interconnected world that Mike and Doza Cruz seem to be inhabiting.
Interesting. And that brings us back to Mike.
Right.
What happened to him?
Yeah.
Is he still out there?
Yeah.
Is he connected to Doza Crew?
Right.
If so, kai-REM might be the link,
Right. Yeah.
the one who can help us understand what happened.
Okay, so what if Doza Cruz's music isn't just entertainment? What if it's a form of communication,
Oh, interesting.
a way to send messages
Mm.
or warnings?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe kai-REM is the intended recipient,
Mm-hmm.
the one who can decode those messages and then act on them.
It's a chilling thought, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
What if those messages aren't just about technology or conspiracy theories? What if they're about something much darker?
Yeah.
Something that Mike uncovered before he vanished?
What if they're about that entity, the one in the final episode of MWF,
Oh, right.
the glowing eyes
Yeah.
and the metallic roar?
It's still out there.
What if it's still out there?
Mm-hmm.
And kai-REM is somehow involved in controlling it or containing it.
I mean, we're in the realm of speculation here, but the possibilities are pretty intriguing.
And unsettling.
And unsettling, yeah. Is kai-REM a force for good?
Right.
Trying to unravel this mystery, protect others from whatever danger Mike might have unleashed?
Or is he a continuation of Mike's obsession? Someone who's willing to push the boundaries even further, embrace the chaos and danger that comes with it.
I mean, unfortunately, we don't have enough information
Yeah.
to say for sure,
Yeah.
but I think it's safe to say that kai-REM is far more than just a replacement sound engineer. He's a central figure in this whole narrative, and his role might be more crucial than we initially realized.
So for you, the listener, what does all this mean? Well, it means the mystery of kai-REM is far from solved. We've only just scratched the surface of this strange and unsettling story.
Hmm?
There's a lot more digging to do.
I mean, if you're intrigued by this, I encourage you to revisit Doza Cruz music, and particularly those tracks we talked about.
Yeah.
Listen closely to the lyrics. Pay attention to those recurring themes.
Yeah.
The symbols, the hints of Mike's obsessions. You might pick up on something we missed.
And don't forget about MWF. Re-examine those final episodes. Listen for any clues about Mike's state of mind, his plans. You might notice something, a detail that connects to kai-REM or that Doza Crew logbook.
The beauty of this deep dive, it doesn't end here.
Yeah.
It's an invitation to explore,
Right.
to question, to connect the dots and form your own interpretations.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to finally crack the code, uncover the truth about kai-REM and the strange fate of Mike's Waffen facts.
The truth is often stranger than fiction, and sometimes those most unsettling discoveries are the ones we make ourselves. So keep those headphones on, your minds open, and maybe keep a close eye on your audio equipment. You never know what kind of rabbit hole it might lead you down.